It's now 10:05 a.m. and I believe it's a good time to start. So, good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Senanu, your host for today, and I would like to formally welcome you to the PwC webinar, The Journey of Discovery, Understanding the True State of Your Business. We are very excited to have you all with us today to embark on this journey to delve deep into the core of what drives our businesses. And a lot of us will agree that in a constantly evolving business and economic landscape such as ours, it is crucial for us to understand the true state of our organizations in order to make informed decisions and drive success. So, to take us on this journey of discovery, we have with us two distinguished speakers who will be guiding us through this informative session. Our first speaker is Kingsley Owusu-Ewli. He is a partner within PwC's tax and legal services and has close to 2 decades of professional experience in providing tax advisory services, as well as business health check solutions to private sector clients across industries. Kingsley has a deep understanding of how to uncover the hidden problems within organizations, and he will be sharing valuable insights on why it is important to understand, as well as regularly conduct comprehensive assessments of our businesses. Our second speaker is Dr. Abeeku Entsua-Mensah. He is an associate director with PwC's Consulting and Risk Services, leading the strategy consulting team. And Abeeku has over 15 years experience in helping both private and public sector organizations to devise strategies needed to transform their businesses. He also has a track record of helping businesses uncover their strengths and weaknesses while leveraging innovative solutions. So Abeeku will be providing us with insights into a toolkit that has been designed to help organizations efficiently diagnose and understand their businesses better, as well as inform the appropriate strategies that they can adopt to transform their business. So our agenda for today's webinar starts off with an introduction to the session, which will be done by Kingsley. This will then be followed by discussions on the business analysis toolkit and case study, which will be led by Abeeku. We'll then conclude the webinar with a Q&A session. So as we dive into today's discussions, we're all encouraged to ask questions, take notes, and actively engage with our speakers. The expectation is that by the end of this webinar, we would have all gained new perspectives and insights that could transform the way we view and operate our businesses. So without further ado, I would hand over to Kingsley and Abeeku as they guide us to embark on the journey of discovery and equip ourselves with the knowledge and tools needed to better understand and improve our businesses. So thank you for making the time to join this webinar. Let's make it an enriching and insightful experience. I will now hand over to Kingsley to begin the day's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's webinar, which is being powered or organized by PwC. PwC, as you well know, is one of the most preeminent professional services provider in the world. PwC has been there for centuries. And because we've been there for more than 100 years, we've actually garnered so much depth and breadth in the resources that we use and to deliver services to our clients. The depth and breadth of the resources we have, which largely encompasses both industry and business competences, allow us to actually leverage our specialist knowledge and experiences in delivering very much important solutions to our clients' problems. wherever they are in the world. PwC is actually located in over 150 countries and close to 700 cities. This really helps us to understand the intricacies and complexities of our clients' problems, the environment in which they operate, in order for us to be able to seamlessly serve them by delivering high quality client service to them. We are not just a big global brand, but we are actually the largest professional services provider in Africa and in Ghana. And our people are many with massive competencies and resources, which really places us in a very, very competitive position as far as the services we deliver. Now, as I said, we are not just a global brand. We're also known for thought leadership. We are known for organizing, thought leadership events and publishing thought leadership products. One of the flagship thought leadership products we are noted for globally is actually our annual global CEO survey. Now, this thought leadership product actually surveys very key and important global business leaders. Last year, sometime around October and November 2022, to be precise, PwC surveyed 4,410 global CEOs or business leaders, including CEOs in Africa and West Africa. Out of these 4,410 CEOs that we surveyed, 40% of these CEOs actually thought that their organizations will no longer be economically viable in the next 10 years. So 10 years from November 2022, 40% of the 4,400 leaders that were surveyed said that if things remain the same as they were in November 2022, their businesses were no longer going to be economically viable. Why were they saying so? They were largely saying so because of the volatile economy situation that they found they actually witnessed or saw in 2022, and how they couldn't really clearly see their way through going forward. It wasn't just about the volatile economy alone. It was also about the geopolitical conflicts that every now and then the world witnesses. We are all witnesses to the Russia and Ukraine war, the lasting impacts it's really left on people and businesses in the past year, how it disrupted supply chains, very crucial or very important commodities, etc., etc. So that wasn't lost on them. And it's not just about the volatile economy, geopolitical conflict or situations. They were also looking at the greater impact that regulation was having on their business. Regulation along data protection, cybersecurity, new technology that is evolving, markets that are being created, governments trying to tighten their boot so hard on these players. I mean, all these actually came together for global leaders or the CEOs that were surveyed to actually think that if things don't change, their businesses were not going to be viable. So how do these business leaders actually react or even position their business before they actually go down? Now, it's not just about the economic non-viability of their businesses. Within West Africa, where Ghana is situated or located, most of the business leaders also thought that GDP was going to decline. Growth rate in GDP would decline. We are all living witnesses to the fact that some economies in West Africa have actually contracted. And for those that have not contracted, they are only likely going to see a positive growth, not more than 2%. Ghana is being projected to grow this year not more than 2%. Same for Nigeria. It's only Cote d'Ivoire that is expected to grow about 6% or so. So really, these business leaders that PwC surveyed had greater insights. They were not just sitting. They must have done some serious assessment of where their businesses were and where they really wanted to take it vis-a-vis the broader volatility in the economy, and hence the conclusion or their views, as you can see on the slide. Now again, it wasn't just about a decline in growth in GDP, but then high inflation. We've witnessed decade high inflation for the first time. Some inflation rates of countries have hovered above 50%. Ghana, as we speak, is in the 40s. So is Sierra Leone in West Africa. Liberia is not an exception. Again, it's only Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire that is relatively doing a bit better. But their predictions have come true. That look, the economy wouldn't do well globally. And actually, it's not just even in West Africa alone. Whether you go to Europe, UK, US, inflation is at all-time high. Cost of living has gone up. People are not buying goods and services as they should, So what really should business leaders be doing? And as I indicated earlier on, it is not just about this. Government is also reacting. Governments want more money. Unemployment levels have gone, high, record high. Yes, cost of living has gone high, but they still believe that they must finance their projects, their budget. So that means that they have to impose new taxes. In Ghana, we also saw COVID-19 levy and many other new taxes. Today or this year, we have growth and stability levy. And not only taxes, they are actually ramping up efforts around cybersecurity, data protection, and all these actually come with additional cost. Within these laws, within these regulations, are compliance obligations for companies or for businesses to comply. And so if these businesses are not growing, but they have to still invest more to comply with regulation, you can really realize that their profitability will come down if they don't do much. And globally, in the wake of the COVID pandemic and the war in Russia and Ukraine, these global CEOs are quite unanimous that these are events or variables that actually disrupt their businesses. These are events that they can't really they have no control over, but they have to really react and adapt to. So how do you position your business, in such a way that even if there are these pandemics and geopolitical conflicts in future, your business will not go down immediately. You can ride a storm and then engage with the future, Okay, so with that, what business leaders have been doing in the past and continue to do within the short to medium term in order to actually overcome or meet the economic challenges that they find themselves are as follows. One of the low-hanging fruits they've adopted really is reduction of cost. with the disruption of what? The various supply chains in place, Russia-Ukraine war, most of these business leaders had to actually source for products and goods or commodities from alternative sources, but in such a way that will reduce or minimize the cost, that they've been incurring. Quite apart from that, they actually looked within to see which of the processes or things within the organization that they can cut in order to stay profitable or in order to continue to exist. But I mean, as we're reducing this operating cost, one area that they felt that they didn't need to touch was really workforce. One would have thought that if businesses are not doing well, if the economy isn't where it is and it's volatile and you can't predict how it will be in the next 5-10 years, then you really need to roll back on your expansionary activities, including even looking at your staff level. But again, these same leaders for 2 or 3 years continuously have been saying that there is rarity of what? Skills as far as workforce is concerned. So there's the need for businesses to actually upskill their workforce. So if there is rarity of skills within the workforce, and you actually must be upskilling them in order for them to deliver efficiencies and productivities that you so much desire, do you cut down this workforce? And not only that, we all are witnesses or living witnesses to the greater resignation that we saw. So on the back of that, do you really have to cut back on workforce? So most of the business leaders PwC surveyed actually indicated that they weren't touching or they did not touch workforce. They didn't have to retrench. They didn't have to cut back on workforce or staff. Their main focus was on areas that were controllable or cost areas that were controllable that they could manage, or how to really restructure the operation in such a way that they will become more efficient and profitable. But that wasn't only all. Within the short and medium term, they also so much focused on diversification. I know some businesses that were engaged in, for instance, foam making, but during the pandemic, they actually went into nose mask making or business. So they were opportunistic. They were constantly looking, assessing, looking at the next opportunity that will come or that will rear its head, and then tap into it in order for them to stay close to where they wanted to be in those years, in those difficult years. Again, some of these business leaders, after doing the assessment, actually felt that they could prioritize, the products that they can manufacture at low cost and still make higher profits, as opposed to continuing with products and services that comes at a high cost, and because of the difficulties that customers or consumers were facing, they wouldn't want to access those highly priced, if you like, products and services. So large efforts were made around focusing on low cost, products, high profitability, high margin businesses, and with diversification in order, to stay afloat. Again, I think I mentioned engagement of alternative suppliers. With the disruption that we saw during the Ukraine-Russia war, which is still continuing, and now Israel is on the horizon with Palestine and a few other Arab states, also in the picture. how do these business leaders cope if their suppliers are within those regions? Clearly, they have to find alternative suppliers. And that's what these business leaders have been doing since 2022, if not earlier, and going into in the future. Now, they can't only talk about reducing their costs, diversifying their product offerings, and then looking for new ways and channels to source their products and commodities or inputs. How do they get to their customers? Their current business processes, can they even improve it at all? And most of them, or this has actually led to most of them, automating their business processes. Some are going to the cloud. Some are adopting responsible artificial intelligence, in order to get to their customers and consumers, to give them the customer experience that they desire or they want, all in a very cost-efficient manner. So these are some of the short or immediate and long-term measures that business leaders have been putting in order to actually stay afloat in this volatile geopolitical conflict-ridden world that we find ourselves. Okay. Now, apart from the short and medium term, given all the pessimism that abound globally, and especially within the business leaders fold, really, businesses exist not only in the short term. The plan really is to grow and survive ultimately generations and centuries, like PwC has done. So how do you position yourself in the long term? How do you survive all these volatilities? And to safeguard their long-term survival, businesses regularly will conduct comprehensive business assessment to really understand where they are, how robust their business processes systems are, and whether they are resilient enough to survive any pandemic and volatilities that the economy will witness. We live in a very constantly evolving environment. The environment is not static. The markets they are operating in it's not static. Constantly moving, constantly changing. Regulation, same thing. So in the long term, what should business leaders do? Business leaders must really use business assessment as a tool, right, to gain insight into the current positioning of their business, to help them actually know the strategies they have to develop and implement going forward, the risks that they face, how to manage them, and drive performance. Now, when you do this comprehensive assessment and you gain insights into your business, you will be taking a proactive step. You will no longer be reacting because you have, this comprehensive business assessment is future looking. Well, you certainly do an introspection by looking at how you fared with your goals and objectives tied to your mission and vision. But then it helps you to know the kind of steps you will take. And the future steps you are taking will be informed by data, the data you've gathered in the assessment you've done. And so, long-term wise, a comprehensive business assessment is very, very much needed. And so, and then naturally, what would be the benefits or the crucial reasons why you should be engaging in a comprehensive assessment. We know, or as I've explained, engaging in such an assessment will safeguard or would help you survive long term as a business. But clearly, if you know where you are, why you are there as a business, and what you need to do going forward, it will help you in strategic decision making. So a thorough assessment provides businesses with a comprehensive understanding. Yeah, sorry, I would like to pause here. I think there's a poll that we should be taking at this point. So, Michael, I'd like to hand over to you for us to take that poll, and before we continue with the benefits that a business can actually obtain from doing a comprehensive assessment. Yeah, thank you, Michael. If you can take it over. Sorry, Michael, you're muted.
Sorry, Kingsley. I think the poll should be appearing on our screens in a few moments. Just give it a few seconds. Okay, so I believe the question should be appearing on our screens by now. This is an anonymous poll, so we encourage everyone to try and respond. So the question says, on a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you believe you understand the current state of your business? On a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you believe you understand the current state of your business? 1 being not very well, and 5 being very well. So we encourage everyone to try and respond to this question whilst we move along with the discussion. Thank you. Okay, so the responses are coming in. So far, it appears a lot of participants appear to be in the middle, and it keeps moving. So the responses will be updating in real time. And so I think Kingsley, I think I'll hand over back to you to continue with the presentation. Kingsley, I think you're muted.
Yeah, thank you very much. I didn't have control. Yeah. So yes, we're talking about business assessment before we took the poll, and we said that there is a need for a comprehensive business assessment or analysis to be done to understand where the business is currently at, why it is there, and whether it has achieved its objectives and goals or not, and what more it needs to do going forward in order to stay in this volatile economy. And so we currently will be looking at the crucial reasons or benefits why a business, that assessment gives you greater insight into your business. No, will come to the fore. And once it comes to the fore, you will be able to basically identify what your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats are as far as your business is concerned. And with those identified, you'll be able to develop and implement effective strategies going forward. So for strategic decision-making purposes, you must conduct a comprehensive business assessment. As we've said, the business landscape, the economy, constantly changing, highly volatile. If we don't do assessments, we will not stay, we will not stay up to date with the changes in the markets and the sectors we are operating in, the consumer behaviors, how they are changing to these situations and adapting, and even the technological advancements, the tools and technologies we're using to deliver our services, to make and manufacture our products and push them to our final consumers are all changing and evolving. Customers want more. They want greater customer experience. So if you don't analyze, you wouldn't be able to keep up with the changes that have happened or even adapting to it. And once you've gained greater insights and understanding of your business, look, having identified your weaknesses and the threats to your business, you should be able to know which parts of your business you should be allocating your finite and rare to find resources, whether it's the workforce or financially or funding wise, And not only that, once you conduct a comprehensive business assessment, it can serve as a baseline, the basis upon which you can compare your performances over time to see whether, the objectives you set out for yourselves, you are actually achieving them or you're not achieving them. And if you're not achieving them, what strategies, what more can you do, to stay afloat and ultimately survive? And businesses are set up obviously not to survive alone. They are set up to grow in a very profitable way. So with your comprehensive business assessment done, having identified the opportunities in the market, you would definitely be able to tell the potential that there is in the market for expansion, for growth, in a way that you can tap them so that the business can continue in a sustainable manner. Finally, the assessment will actually help you align your goals. If you know where you are currently, you will first of all be able to tell whether you've achieved your goals and objectives. If you haven't, how far are they apart from what you actually wanted to achieve? And are you actually still living your mission and your vision, or you are far off? Is there a need to change course or to stay on the same route or journey that you are on? So these are some of the key or crucial benefits you can get when you constantly do a business assessment of your business. On that note, I would like to pause here and hand over to Michael. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kingsley, for the in-depth introduction and for highlighting the reasons why a regular comprehensive assessment is important for businesses, particularly in these challenging times. We will now move on to the next part of the webinar, which looks at the business analysis toolkit and how it can support organizations to efficiently carry out their business assessments. But before we do that, I think there should be a poll for us to respond to. It should appear on our screens by now. The question says, have you ever performed a comprehensive assessment of your business? Have you ever performed a comprehensive assessment of your business? And we are all encouraged to provide our responses to that as well. Okay. I also want to remind participants to also provide their questions in the chat section as we move along, so that at the Q&A section we can pick up all the questions that have been raised. Okay. I think we can move on to the next poll question. Okay, so this question is, if you answered yes, when was the last time a comprehensive assessment was performed? And the options are less than a year, between 1 to 3 years, and more than 5 years. Okay, so as the responses are coming in, we'll move on with Abeeku to begin his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As I looked at the polls, I saw that over 83% as at the time I was taking a look, had not performed a comprehensive assessment of their businesses. So I would say this is the right time. We are going to introduce a tool that you can use to perform that assessment. 83% is very, very huge. I was not expecting that number for people that have not performed an assessment of their business. And so for this segment of the webinar, we are going to introduce a tool to you, which is called the Business Analysis Toolkit. And it's basically a tool that is used to do a comprehensive assessment of your business, to expose all of the issues that are within the business, where you need to strengthen the business and where the business is doing well and you need to keep doing well as a business. So let's look into the details of what the BAT covers and then how that can help your organization. So the BAT is basically a tool that looks at the 9 different perspectives that make up an organization. And so if you look at a typical organization, all of these 9 areas are critical functions for the organization. The corporate strategy on which the organization is operating and is sort of leading the organization to its objectives, the customers and the clients that the organization serves, and the kind of offering that the business has for the customers and the clients, and then the business's processes, all the day-to-day processes that the business goes through to be able to meet their objectives, serve their clients better, give good returns to their stakeholders, and then make an impact as a business. Also, the underlying technology that is driving the business, both from the front and then the back, and how the business is using technology to be able to run the business and meet its objective, and the efficiencies and inefficiencies within the technology that is employed by the business. The BAT also looks at how information circulates around the organization at different levels, and how that information is key to decision making, and how that information sort of drives the various functions of the business to be able to perform their roles efficiently. He also looks at the organization itself and how it is positioned, and also looks at, most importantly, people capabilities, whether the people within the organization have the right capabilities to be able to deliver on the organization's strategy, and where the gaps exist within the capabilities, or whether the organization even has the right kind of people, even beyond the capabilities, in terms of numbers and structure, to be able to deliver on the organization's mandate. We look at the corporate structure too, whether the company is properly structured to be able to deliver on its business, and whether there are amendments to the structure that would help deliver better efficiencies for the business. And then the enterprise performance of the organization. And so there are two basic levels that we look at. The level one basically looks at the maturity of the various functions, within the organization, and the gaps that exist in the maturity. So where the optimal performance is supposed to be for the organization and the current performance, identifying the gaps and the remedial actions that are needed to be able to close the gaps. Now, the second level is collecting the relevant data and then using the tools we have to do the evaluation, so that we can understand the organization in totality. And so that sort of gives you like a baseline assessment and understanding of the business, and you are able to tell from a bird's eye view how the business is operating in all of these key 9 areas. So if you look at the operating model assessment of the 9 lenses, it produces a matrix that gives you a pictorial sort of view of how the business is performing. So if you look at the image to the right, it gives you that 360 view of the organization, looking at all of the 9 lenses. In terms of how the matrix works, you have 0.0 being the lowest score of the organization, and then a 5.0 being the highest score of the organization. And so what the BAT does is that it plots the organization's maturity on this matrix, and you are able to tell visually where you are doing well and where you are not doing well, without even going into the fine details, of the organization. If you look on the left side, you are able to see all of the 9 sub-lenses that we have spoken about. Now, next to the sub-lenses is what is called the gap. So the gap basically identifies the difference between how the organization is performing currently and the optimal performance of the organization. Once you do the analysis and the assessment, the difference between the optimal performance and how the organization is performing currently is what is called the gap. And so it gives you the current maturity model of all of the functions of the organization, and then it's able to determine how important that function is to the success of the business. So for each of the 9 lenses, it is further broken down into sub-lenses. Now, these sub-lenses are components that are very, very important for key strategic decision making. And so all of these subcomponents are critical for the survival of any organization. And so when the assessment is being done, all of these sub-lenses are looked at to provide a very holistic view of the organization, and you are able to identify the gaps that exist in all of these sub-lenses. And so just to give you a view of what some of the sub-lenses cover. So if you pick a sub-lens like the customer offering, you are looking at the products, services, and then the pricing of the organization. You are looking at areas around the geographies within the organization. So for instance, if it's an organization that is regionally based, you can look at within the West Africa region, the countries the organization exists in and how they are performing in those countries. If it is national, you can look at the various regions and how the regions are performing, and things like the information flow to the regions and how they are contributing to the overall performance. And so you could look at Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, Tamale, all of the various geographies within the organization exists in, and how that is contributing to their performance. You are also zoning in on their customers and their understanding of the customers, how they are getting the customer data, how they are processing the customer data, the insights they get from their customer. You also look at the channels they use to serve the customer and reach the customer, and whether there are any intermediaries within the organization that is helping them to deliver the unique services that they are supposed to deliver to the customers. We also look at whether there are alliances, very important alliances that the business has that help them deliver value to their customers. So it could be alliances in terms of product and services. It could be alliances in terms of technology, or it could even be alliances in terms of shared services that are required to deliver value to the customers. And then the maturity assessment also looks at the cost to serve particular customers. And so whilst we are serving and providing value to the customer, how much is it costing the business to be able to meet the customer needs and then keep your customer happy? The various brands within the organization, how these brands are managed and how they are contributing to the performance of the organization, and then whether the organization has a very good digital impact and how they use technology and digital enabled in trying to run their organization. And so this is just under the customer offering. And so it tells you how comprehensive the assessment is to make sure that every aspect of the business that is important is captured for that. Let's also look at another area, just an example, under the people capabilities. When we are doing the assessment for the people capabilities, one of the things we look at is whether the people have the right competencies to be able to deliver on the business's strategy. And if they don't have the right competencies, how do they build up that competency to deliver on their objectives? And also how the business is managing the workforce and the talent of the organization, whether they have a proper reward and recognition scheme in place for their people, the kind of cultures and behaviors that exist in the organization, and whether that is helping the organization or that is slowing down in the delivery of the organization's mandates and objectives to their clients and then stakeholders. We also look at how leadership is aligned to the business objectives and whether leadership is able to drive delivery and then success of the business. The communication channels that exist along the value chain from the lowest point to the highest point, and how that communication is helping or not helping the business. And then we also look at things like portfolio and project management within the organization. And so these are just two examples under customer offering and then people capabilities that we do assessments for when we are doing the BAT analysis. So for all of the 9 lenses, we carefully go through all these sub-lenses and then to do a thorough assessment that gives us a very clear picture of how the organization is performing. Right on top of the lenses, you can see a key there that has the traffic light model. So in terms of also aiding the pictorial view, anytime you see a red in any of the sublenses, then immediately it tells you that that particular sublens is not performing very well and requires immediate attention. The yellow or amber tells you that it's doing fairly well, but requires quite a bit of improvement to be able to get to a green. And then the green obviously means that the business is doing quite well in that area, and they need to sort of keep it up and then focus on that area. So once you have done the assessment, that is the sort of comprehensive view that you are able to get of your business, looking at all of the critical functions that are important to the survival of the business. So let's now take a look at what the tool can also do. So once you have run the assessment, we come up with recommendations on improvements, and then we actually have a workshop where we can dig into the details of all of the key areas that require immediate action that the business needs to identify or work on. And so you are able to identify all of the gaps, come up with the areas where you need to improve, and then basically come up with some key actions that can help you improve on those areas. And so at the end of the day, it helps you optimize your operating model because you are able to see your areas of strength and weaknesses and are able to take all of the important decisions that are necessary. When change management is involved, you are able to also have a very good business case because there's data supporting that business case to be able to decide on where to focus investment within the business and then where to take certain key decisions that require that some important changes are made for the business. We are also able to tell the delivery capabilities of the business, where the business has the ability to sort of leverage those capabilities to be competitive within their industry, and then where those technical capabilities are important and you need to resolve the issues that have been identified with the technical capabilities before they affect the business even more. But at the end of the day, you are able to make better decisions because now there's data, there is information, there is a business case, and so you have all of the insights that are important to be able to take very important decisions and then take, let's say, good decisions that can help the business. And so because it's a consistent tool that has been used within the industry over time, the output can be trusted because it gives you a very good understanding of the areas that need improvement for your business. And then you are able to take those decisions and then get a business into the proper standing that is required. So let's look at some of the key benefits of using a tool like the VAT. The first important benefit is that you are able to take decisions when the decisions are necessary. And so you are not just taking decisions, but these are informed decisions. Because you've done a comprehensive analysis, you have a good understanding of the business now. And so there is a reason to take all of the decisions that you need to take, and you understand how those decisions are going to impact the business. In terms of identifying opportunities and challenges, you are also able to tell, especially when you've done your people capabilities, you've done your customer analysis, you're able to see all of the opportunities that are available for the businesses, and then how you can take advantage of the opportunities. And areas where there are challenges with the people and the customers in particular, or the enterprise performance that is hampering the success of the organization or the smooth running of the organization, you are able to identify all of those challenges. And so once you do continuous assessments, and sometimes you can do the assessment as continuous as quarterly to ensure that the business is always running optimally, you are able to make continuous improvements. You do not wait till the end of the year when there have been major issues before you do your assessment and then realize that there's a decision that you could have taken 6 months back, but because you are not doing assessments, you are not able to take that decision. And so you are also able to align according to industry standards. The good thing is that because we do several of these assessments across all industries, you are able to determine the industry standards and then see whether among your peers you are performing as it should. And overall, it makes you a more focused business. You are able to focus on your customers and your clients because you understand all of the issues that are associated with them and how you can serve them better as a business. So now that we've spoken about the benefits, let's look at a case study of how the BAT has been applied for a client and what the outcome of the case study is. And for this purpose, we are picking a case study from the financial services industry to look at what was done for a financial services client and then what the outcome of that was. So this was a multinational financial services company that is in Ghana, and they had to make a very complex decision on whether they were going to close some aspect of their business, or maybe it wasn't doing so bad and it only required some level of investment for those particular areas to be able to perform and then grow. So as you know, taking a decision whether you are closing aspects of your business or you are reinvesting into it is a very complex decision, and it requires that you understand the business very well to be able to take such a decision. And so what we did was to do the comprehensive assessment for them so that they can understand the true state of the business, all of the functions and all the services of the business. And then based on that, they would be able to decide whether they are closing that aspect of the business or they are going to focus on that side of it and then rather invest, because things don't look as bad as it is. And with the right investment, the business can actually grow. So using the BAT tool, we looked at some key areas of the business. So we did an assessment of their corporate strategy so that they understand whether the corporate strategy is able to deliver on their goals and vision and the mandate for which they exist as a business. We took an in-depth look at the organization to see the key issues within the organization, the key structures within the organization, and how that helps or does not help the organization. We also looked at the processes within the organization. We did an assessment of the people and their capabilities and whether they have the right capabilities to deliver on the business's mandates. We also did an assessment of their technology that is being used to drive the business and whether they have the right technologies employed, whether they were the right kind of technologies to be able to deliver to their clients and their customers, and whether those technologies are up to date and relevant for the kind of business that they were operating. And then we also looked at the flow of information within the organization, especially from the top to the bottom, and how at every level they understood what is required of them and are able to deliver on their mandate based on the level of information that they have. So for the solution that PwC came up with, what we found was that there was a bit of issues with the governance framework of the organization. And so the governance framework was sort of underdeveloped, and the roles and responsibilities were not too clear within the organization, and that was affecting decision making. So there was a lot of bottlenecks around how decisions are made and how people are accountable for the decisions that they make. We also saw that some of the procedures were inconsistent across the departments, and because of that, the departments were not working too well together. And so it was difficult to standardize operation and then quality across all of the departments. And it also meant that the level of compliance was quite low because the procedures were not very clear for all of the departments. There was also limited data for the customer, and so the business did not understand their customer very well. And so taking decisions that would impact their customer was quite difficult, and most of the decisions were ad hoc. And that was hampering the sort of insights they were getting from the customer and their understanding of what the customer really required from the business. And their efficiency in terms of reporting was quite low because the reporting systems were siloed in the various departments. And so it was difficult to get a comprehensive view from all departments to put together to be able to generate a comprehensive report that was based on all of the data available to the organization to be able to take effective decision making. And so if you look at it, you see that most of the things are interconnected, and definitely that was hampering the business in being able to meet all of their objectives. And so our proposal for the business was to have a new and comprehensive governance framework, redefining all the roles and responsibilities to ensure that everybody understood what they are doing and are able to take the decisions that impact their business. It also meant that redoing all of the standard procedures within the organization and coming up with a new procedure manual, and then doing the sensitization process for the business to understand that procedure manual and how it applies to all of the departments. There was also the need to do new quality procedures and standards and quality checks for everything that is done within the various departments, and then standardize that across the organization. And so that drove up the level of consistency and compliance within the organization. We also deployed a new CRM, customer relationship management system, for the organization, which was driven by analytics. And that greatly improved their understanding what the needs and wants of the customer is, and how they are able to meet the needs and then the wants. We also developed a new customer journey map that showed how the customer interacts with the business every touch point, and how these touch points are important to the success of the business, and how the business can engage the customer at all of these touch points to ensure that the customer is well informed, understands the business, and are able to receive the best service from the business. We also recommended a new data integration management system that helped the business to streamline the reporting and with different levels of access from all departments and functions. And so basically every department and the required information was easily available, and then they gave management a better view of everything that was happening within the organization, and they were able to do a better reporting for the business. We are also proud to say, if you look at the result and the impact of this particular case study, the governance system of the organization became more effective. They were now extremely happy with their standard procedures within the organization. Because of the new CRM and the data management system that we had in place, the business reported to us that they had a 25% increase in client retention. And so because now the clients said that, well, the business is now showing that they understand us and what we want as a business. And that led to a 10% growth in annual revenue as reported by the business. In terms of the decision making, they were happy with the decision making, saying that now they are able to take faster decisions based on the data that they have, and then also meant that the programs and activities that they had to do, they were able to do much faster because the decision time it took to be able to decide whether to move or not move had been cut down, and so they were able to move faster as a business. But at the end of the day, the business became more stable, they became more profitable, and then they were able to meet their objectives. And so this is just a case study to highlight the impact of such a tool like the business analysis toolkit And this was just to demonstrate how that can impact your business, and then why it's important to do these assessments. And so to close it off, before we do the next poll and then the Q&A, I would say for the 83% that have not done business analysis, this is a good opportunity. We are happy and willing to support you to do an immediate assessment of your business to see where you are sitting as a business, and then hopefully as a case study, your performance would even be better than the performance of the case study that we have demonstrated here. Thank you very much. Michael, over to you. Hello, Michael. Can you hear me?
Yes, Abeeku, yes, I can hear you. Thank you, Abeeku, for those valuable insights on the BAT as an innovative solution to efficiently assess businesses on a regular basis. Looking at the benefits that it offers, I believe this must be of interest to anyone looking for an effective way to actively assess the health of their business. So I think at this point, to keep the conversation going and to participants keen on exploring the benefits of this solution, a link to a form will be added to the webinar chat for you to provide your details. And once that is done, we'll contact you after the webinar to engage you further on the way forward. I think before we move on to the final session of today's webinar, which is the Q&A, we'll take our last poll. Yes, and that should be appearing on our screen any moment from now. And the question is, which of the top 3 lenses of the BAT do you consider to be priority areas of focus for your organization? Which of the top 3 lenses of the BAT do you consider to be priority areas of focus for your organization? So we'll take a few moments to respond to that question before we move on to the Q&A. Okay, I think we've had quite a number of responses. I think to be a good time to move on to the Q&A and final session of today's webinar. So there are a number of questions that have been placed in the chat. I'm going to pick the ones that we have over here. Then once we are done, we can open the floor to those who want to share their thoughts or views or questions with the speakers as well. So the first question we have here is from Samuel, which says, what are the components of a comprehensive assessment? What are the components of a comprehensive assessment? So I think Abeeku or Kingsley, if any of you want to take that.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I will take that. If you look at the can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay. If you look at the components of a comprehensive assessment, that is what is captured in the 9 lenses that we looked at under the BAT. And so the first component is the corporate strategy. That looks at your strategy as a business and how that strategy can deliver on the mandate or objectives of the business, the reason for which the business was set up. We also look at the customer or client offering. That looks at how you deliver value to your customer and your clients and how you are able to serve them better. The third one being the processes within the organization and how those processes are supporting the business to deliver on its mandate. The fourth one being technology, the technology that is used to run the business and then the day-to-day activities of the business and whether that technology is fit for purpose and is able to help the business to deliver on its objective. The fifth one being how information is shared within the organization and whether that information flow is supporting the business to be able to deliver on its objective and then work efficiently. The seventh one being organization, and whether the organization is properly structured and whether the setup of the organization is good for delivering on its objective. The seventh one being the people and their capabilities, whether your people have the right capabilities to be able to sort of push the business to where they want to get to, and whether additional capabilities are needed for your people to be able to meet their mandate or their objectives. The eighth one being the corporate structure, and then the ninth one being the enterprise performance of the business, whether the setup of the enterprise performance is optimal and it's able to drive the business to success. And so these are the 9 components of a typical comprehensive business assessment. Michael, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Abeeku. I hope that answers Samuel's question. So I'll move on to the next one, which is coming from Peter. And the question says, in measuring the capabilities of the people, how practical can we measure these skills to get a value that will mean that the business is doing well or not? And in other words, what are the variables and how can it be measured? So,
Okay, thank you, Michael. So we use both a quantitative assessment to be able to reach the insights that we want, the purpose of triangulation. And so the data that we collect is both quantitative and qualitative. And so in terms of the quantitative data, we do the current state assessment scoring, and then we also do the optimal performance scoring. And so once you do the analysis, you are able to determine the gaps between the current state and the optimal state. And now to give meaning to the numbers, we also do the qualitative side where the comments and then the reasons for these performances are provided. And all of the comments and the reasons are also analyzed together with the quantitative to give you a more comprehensive understanding of why the business is at that level and why the gap exists. And so that process of combining both qualitative and quantitative is able to give us a much clearer picture of how the business is performing. And so that's how we go about making sure that we have a thorough process to get the right kind of output from our assessment.
Okay, Abeeku, thank you for that. And I hope that answers Peter's question. To the next one. This is coming from Kwabna, and his question is, how often does a business have to perform a BAT?
In terms of how often a business should perform it, if you ask me, my wish is that every business will do it quarterly, just because we are in a very volatile environment where there are rapid changes to the environment. In fact, you realize that, in fact, in Ghana, some of the changes were happening monthly. This month, this is the exchange rate. Within the next 2 or 3 weeks, the exchange rate has also changed, and it's significantly impacting the business. And so the parameters and other influences for the business keeps changing rapidly. It will be good that every quarter you do an assessment to understand whether your business is still performing as it should, looking at all of the environmental factors that are affecting the business. But if you cannot do quarterly, at least twice a year, it is good to do an assessment of your business. So you can do a mid-year assessment to see how the business is performing within the first 6 months and whether everything is okay with the business. And then at the end of the year, you do another assessment to see whether the business is still on its course to success, or whether some quick remediation actions are required to be able to get the business back on track. Michael.
Okay, thank you, Abeeku, for that one again. To the next question, this is coming from Samuel Ofori. And his question is, how often should a company invest in technology? Or better still, what should be the ideal percentage allocation of the company budget on technology?
Okay, the answer is that there's no ideal percentage for technology. It depends on how the business is set up. It could be a business that is wholly dependent on technology. So, for instance, if you are a fintech, the core of your business is technology. So if I say invest 10%, that would not be doing justice to the fintech that depends on technology. And so what would happen is that once we do sort of an assessment, we are able to tell how technology is important in delivering the objectives of the business and the kind of investment that is required in technology. But that is on a case-by-case basis, because every organization is different. There are organizations that are wholly dependent on technology, like if you're a telco, your whole business model sits on technology. And so we cannot say invest only 10 to 15% in technology. That would be collapsing your business. And so we like to take it on a case-by-case basis, look at your business, and we are able to tell the percentage you should invest in technology if you want your business to move forward.
Okay, thank you again, Abeeku, for that response. The next question is coming from Sheku. And his question is, does your company have go-to-market partnerships for offering the BAT?
Okay, the good thing is that PwC runs the BAT ourselves. It's a proprietary tool for BAT. And so we do not rely on partnerships to be able to deliver the assessment through the BAT. And so that is the good thing. What it also means is that we are able to deploy it as quickly as possible, and then do an assessment for you immediately immediately you are ready. We do not require partnership agreements. We do not require any partnership discussion before we are able to deploy the BAT. We can deploy it as soon as we are ready to run it. Even tomorrow, we will be able to deploy it. Michael.
Okay. Thanks, Abeeku. Okay, to the next one. I think this is coming from someone who asked an earlier question. And this time he's asking, is it similar to the balanced scorecard?
No, it is not similar to the balance scorecard. The approaches and methodologies are quite different for the balance scorecard and then the BAT. So probably in another webinar, we can cover the balance scorecard, and then we'll be able to tell the differences between that and the BAT. Both of them are meant to do separate things.
Okay, thank you, Abeeku. There's also another question which says, how is the model integrated with the macro and micro environment, as they are more volatile, uncertain, and have the most significant impact on business?
Okay, Michael, I think Kingsley can come in, so that it's not just me answering all of the questions. So maybe macro, economic question can go to Kingsley.
Okay. Kingsley, please, over to you.
Yeah. Sorry, Michael, what's the question again?
Okay, so a participant's asking, how is the model integrated with the macro and micro environment, as they are more volatile, uncertain, and have the most significant impact on businesses?
No, they are certainly actually, how do you call it, embedded or incorporated in. As to the level, I'm not sure I can, how do you call it, put an exact number, but I'll say maybe close to 100%. I mean, it's actually incorporated. Yeah. Otherwise, the analysis you are doing would be worthless, right? Because you really want to understand where you are within the larger, if you like, scheme of things, as far as the economy is concerned, as far as your industry is concerned. So whatever is happening in those sectors, in terms of the micro and macro, would all be included or are included. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for that response, Kingsley. We'll move on to the next question, which says, how do you monitor the assessment and targets after it has been performed? Do you use a software or other means?
Okay, maybe I should come back in here. And so that is why we request that you do the assessment as often as possible, so that there is a trend. We are able to tell over a period of time which areas of your business are improving and which areas are not improving. So for example, if you decide to do the assessment quarterly, what it means that you would have 4 reference reports from the assessment, and there can be a clear trend as to, if you pick your people side over the year and over the 4 quarters, how has your people competencies improved or not? If you look at technology, whether there has been any significant changes in technology or not over the 4 assessments that has been done. And so that is how we are able to keep an updated view of your business. But just to add that all of the assessments that are done, all of the information, all of the analysis are highly confidential. And so that data is not shared with any organization, or it is also shared with any business. In fact, within PwC, it is only limited to the people that are doing the assessment. Anybody beyond that does not have access to the data. So that data is kept well. And if the business files that we do not keep that data is also disposed of. But most businesses will request that keep the data over time, so that you are able to do a trend analysis of how we've performed over a period to inform us in our decision making, and to also see whether we are improving or not improving in some critical areas. Michael.
Okay, thank you once again, Abeeku. I think from the chat, the final question we have is coming from Peter again, and this time he's asking, there are some SME businesses that may not be so structured is there an alternative way of assessing them without necessarily taking all the criteria under the BAT?
Yes, the good thing is that BAT is flexible. And so what has been presented today is looking at all of the key critical functions and their sublenses. But it can also be tailored to suit any kind of organization, whether the public sector or the private sector, whether it's a large business or it's an SME, or even if it's a startup. The tool is flexible enough to accommodate those changes, and we are able to still do a comprehensive assessment of your business. And so we know that for an SME or a startup, not all of these critical functions may be mature. And so we take that into consideration in making sure that we have a customized assessment system for that particular business that would produce a fair picture of how the business is performing. And so we are able to do that. Michael.
Okay. Thank you, Abeeku. We have another question from Daniel, and it says, what does the client get from PwC? Is it a software or a service?
The client gets a service from PwC. We come with the system, and then we run the analysis for you, and then we are able to produce a report that gives you a good picture of your business. And then we also hold a workshop with you, go through all of the assessments and the key areas. We are able to discuss it. If it requires that we do a validation process, we do the validation process together, and then a final report is produced for you. And so that is the processes that we go through. It's a proprietary PwC tool, so that is what we use to do the assessment. The tool is not for sale.
Okay, thank you, Abeeku. Okay, I think Daniel has follow-up questions to that, and he's saying that, so if it is a service, what would the influence be on the fees to be paid?
Well, so I knew the fee discussion was going to come up, but just like my other answer, it's a case-by-case basis. Some organizations are very small, and some organizations are large. And so let's say if you are looking at a large multinational that has branches in several locations and other places, huge number of staff, 1,000 plus and all over. You are not expecting that the assessment would cost the same as an SME. That is very small and is now starting up and just has a few departments or a few areas that needs to be assessed and requires a customized service. And so what we like to do is to have that initial discussion, understand how your business is structured, understand how to restructure the tool to the needs of your business before we even talk about pricing, so that whatever price that we discuss is very fair to you. We are not going to pick the price of a huge multinational and say, this is the price of doing an assessment, so pay it. We understand that business are different sizes, and so we need to be able to cater for a business of every size.
Okay, thank you, Abeeku. I think someone is also asking a question regarding fees, and he's saying, what is your fee range, please? But I think you've already covered that in your explanation, or unless you want to add something else to that.
No, I think we've covered that, and I'm sure once they engage me to discuss for the organization, they'll probably would be surprised that the fee is actually quite low for smaller organizations. And so our interest is in businesses understanding the true state of their business and using that to their advantage. So what I would say is that let's have that discussion. Let's engage. Let me understand your business, and then we can talk about fee later.
Okay. Thank you, Abeeku, for for that. There aren't any more questions in the chat, but we've posted a link in the chat as well for those who are interested in performing the assessment on their business. So kindly click on the link to take you to the form to provide the relevant details. Then we'll pick up the conversation from there. I think one more question just came in from Abraham. And it says, how would this model work for startup businesses in our part of the world, considering the implementation cost and its associated benefits?
In terms of the startups, the good news is that we've been working with a lot of startups over the past few months, trying to structure assessments for them, together with major funding organizations that provide funding for startups in our country. And so we have that relevant experience with the startups. We understand the SME and startup ecosystem in Ghana and their needs. And so once we have that discussion, we know what you'll be able to afford. We know a lot of the startups are not making a lot of money, and so we understand that. So in terms of the implementation cost, I would say let us discuss it. We'll be able to reach an agreement on something that would be beneficial to you and your business. But we've done a lot of significant work with a lot of startups, especially with our development partners. And so we have that experience to understand you.
Okay, thank you for that again, Abeeku. I think we'll open the floor to those who are not able to present their questions in the chat to ask their questions by showing their hands or by clicking the hand, they're raising their hands. And I think we have one already, Daniel Wilson. If you can go ahead and ask your question, please. I think, Daniel, please, if you can unmute and speak, please. Okay, I think he's having challenges. Hi, Daniel, can you please unmute? Okay. Okay, Daniel, if you have any other issues, kindly just place it in the chat. We'll pick it up from there, please. Okay.
Hi, good morning. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
I was unable to unmute. Thank you, Kingsley. Thank you, Abeeku. I think it's been an insightful session. I've written down a lot of things. I have a question based on, I think, when Kingsley was presenting concerning the survey that was done across global CEOs. It was very fascinating to discover that a lot of them didn't particularly prioritize reducing workforce. When you were touching on the immediate cost reduction measures, and typically I'm in the media and marketing space, and our service is heavy on people. And yes, we have digitized our process. A lot of things are automated, but when we always think about executing huge projects or scaling, and it's always a people factor. So I wanted to find out for the sector I am in and being a service-based business, in a case where, yes, there's a lot of volatility and you don't want to be leaving and coming back into the business as and when project is in, what would be the recommendation for a business like mine, where I also perhaps do not want to prioritize laying off? I want to explore other measures that would ensure the business stays afloat, stays profitable, and even ensure growth. But I do not want to lose the people. Given the times we are in, what should be some of the factors I should consider to ensure profitability and growth? Hello?
Gabriela, if you can mute the person where we're getting the feedback from.
Yes. I don't know if my question was heard.
Yes, Ellie, I think you said you. So here, this is Kingsley. I heard you say that you operate within the media space.
Yes. Yes.
You operate within media space. You largely depend on a lot of people, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if global leaders are not actually downsizing or letting their people go, really, then what more options do you have as a business if you are to emulate, if I may put it, the decisions they took? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, look, no, every business is quite unique, right? Every business is unique. And many factors come in play. This survey that we did were only on 4,410 CEOs. In Ghana, to put things in context, we have more than 10,000 companies registered on the list of the Registrar General. But the people we surveyed are leaders of very big conglomerates or big businesses, cutting across many territories, right? So you can't really have a one size fits all. But it is important that these leaders are working for businesses that have ready market business contracts, and the pandemic mostly wasn't able, or even the conflicts weren't able to actually reduce their business size. But if you are really operating in a business that is people intensive, in other words, once your business ceases, or let me say people begin to use your business sparingly, you have to definitely come to workforce. You definitely have to come to workforce. But the starting point should not be there. And that's really what these leaders are saying. The starting point shouldn't be there. Because you've invested in what? In training these people, in recruiting, in training, and continuously upskilling them. So the decision to leave them shouldn't be one that you should take lightly, right? Quite apart from that, even though the economy, let's say in Ghana, is difficult, we all of a sudden realize the massive opportunities that exist in Canada and other European countries, which have seen many people leave. So if people have resigned and have left, some even completely, they don't want to work again, unless probably you give them an assurance that they will work from home, remote working. I mean, if you having this situation, should downsizing be your first option? No. So really, it's about you seeing workforce as your last resort. Look, ultimately, if the business can't continue without you taking a look or a bite at the numbers, it has to happen. right? Every single business, as I said, is unique. Now, even if you look at the findings critically, the major, if like finding we put out there is that the business leaders themselves, even as recent as November 2022, right, kind of felt that if nothing changes, then their businesses wouldn't continue to be what economically viable. And even though in the short term they were not touching it, once they do that comprehensive business analysis or assessment and come to the conclusion that they have very little control around other variables, they will definitely touch how do you call it, workforce. So I hope I have put matters in perspective for you. It's not like as a leader, you can't touch workforce. If there's no business, you can't have people. You can only have a few that you can consider as current and future investment. Even if there's no business, you should be hopeful as long as you want to continue to remain in that business. With some efforts at marketing, business development, and stuff like that, you may be able to get some business. So that handful of stuff you can keep, but the rest that you currently don't have, work for or businesses for, you have to take a look at it. Do you go and borrow for how long to pay salaries when there's no income or business income coming in? You can do that up to a certain short-term period, but not beyond. So within in no more than 12 months, these big businesses were able to do it. But ultimately, in the long term, once you've done the assessment, if there is a need, you would have to. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That helps. I also asked, in the past year especially, we've seen a lot of headlines, of companies doing massive layoffs. Honestly, probably unprecedented layoffs. And when they put out statements, it kind of suggests that they are doing a preemptive measure where they foresee things not economically not getting better in coming years. Therefore, they are laying people off now to rather start reducing costs ahead of the predicted economic impact. So I just wanted to marry that with, especially bringing it down to the service space, where honestly, when there's no job, it's a lot of redundancy. You are paying people, but you can see the workload is very little. So this really helps. So it's not priority. It's something that you use as a last resort. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes, it's indeed. We've all been hearing and we are seeing in, how do you call it? Whether the print or online media, the fact that many people are being let go. My only hope is that before these decisions were reached, proper business or comprehensive business analysis have been done to see that, look, there isn't any business coming on the horizon. Because if there is, these are people you've trained, you've invested so much in them. So if you only needed to keep them for a month or two in order to win a big contract, but then you let them go in month one, what do you do when you finally win that job? Will they still be there, or they would have found some jobs either in the country or out? They've gone out, and clearly, as I said, for 3 or 4 years in a row, business leaders across the world are saying that increasingly they require skill sets that they need their workforce to possess or have isn't available, isn't there. So they themselves have taken this in their own hands to retool, rekit, upskill these people. So the decisions around letting people go, shouldn't be seen as a business as usual kind of decision. Yeah, thank you. Michael, back to you.
Kingsley.
I think you're muted.
Yeah, Kingsley, just to add that the 27th CEO has actually started. And so for the CEOs that we have on the webinar, we are going to send the links for you to participate. Alternatively, I can copy the link and then put it in the chat. If you are representing your organization but you are not a CEO, you can kindly send it to your CEO to take part in the survey so that we can get more responses from Ghana. It means that the findings will be more reflective of our local situation. And then it also means that if we get a lot of responses from Ghana, we can actually go ahead and do a special edition for Ghana that captures the CEO's data in Ghana. And so that report will be very specific to Ghana. So kindly check the chat. Kindly check the chat. I have sent the link to the CEO survey to everybody. If you're a CEO and you're on the webinar, kindly follow the link and then take part in the survey. If you are representing an organization, kindly share it with the CEO so that he can take part in the survey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abeeku.
Thank you, Kingsley. Thank you, Abeeku and Daniel, for your contributions. I don't think we have any more questions in the chat, or no, I don't think we have any more questions. So we have about a few minutes to 12. And if there are not any further comments, thoughts, or questions, I think to be a good time to say we've come to the end of today's webinar. And what an insightful journey it has been. I believe we've learned that understanding the true state of our business is not just an option, but it's actually a necessity in today's rapidly changing world. And we've also been able to explore a tool that can help us uncover hidden insights, strengths, weaknesses within our organizations to help improve performance. Okay, so before I conclude, I would like to express our gratitude to our speakers, Kingsley and Abeeku, for sharing their expertise and knowledge with us today. Your contributions have been very invaluable, and we thank you for your time and insights. I also want to extend my gratitude to each and every one of you in our virtual audience. Your engagement, questions, and participation have made this webinar a truly enriching experience. So before I hand over to Kingsley to share his closing remarks, I just want to remind everyone to complete the form. And we look forward to your feedback and also continuing the conversation on the BAT. So thank you once again for joining us, and wish you all the best in your ongoing journeys of discovery. So Kingsley, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Indeed, we have truly come to the end of our journey of discovering the true state of our businesses. You know, we've seen that the level of pessimism of business leaders across the world is at all-time high. And that is fueled by the volatilities in the economy, global economy, that these businesses are operating within, the geopolitical conflicts that are never ending. We thought Russia and Ukraine would end or would have ended by now. It's not ended. It's ongoing. New ones are on the horizon. Climate change concerns resulting in increased regulations have made really the terrain to be very difficult and ever evolving. This really has led to business leaders and businesses in general devising short and medium term measures or strategies to stay afloat. But really, is that all? Do businesses exist just to stay afloat? What will happen to their long-term prospects? That is really where or why we actually held this webinar today, to talk about the real benefits and importance or relevance of doing a comprehensive business assessment. The benefits that you get, and as we've learned, are enormous. We've introduced you to a specific tool that PwC uses to actually provide business analysis or the comprehensive assessment for our clients. 9 perspective or lenses. Someone asked a question about it, and their sub lenses. All of this would enable you to gain greater insights in your business, to help you make informed decisions, focus on the clients that you exist to serve, among many others. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really the time for you to engage in this business analysis for each of your businesses, so that you can understand why you are where you are, what more you need to do to serve your clients better, to remain profitable by growing year on year, and deliver value to your stakeholders. Don't forget that the difficulties that the global economy has thrown at various governments is really keeping them, on the edge, and they are coming back at us, the people and businesses, to pay more and to also restrict us in, more difficult ways. So we need to respond, we need to adapt, and we must do so proactively, in a manner that will serve us all well. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating. Indeed, it's truly been insightful. Your questions were on point. Let's continue to engage. As you can see, the slide that is up, these are your contacts. The main person is Dr. Abeeku Entsua-Mensah. Please reach out if you want PwC to help you do a comprehensive business analysis for you. Thank you very much. Michael, back to you. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kingsley, again. I guess it's time for us to continue with the conversation after this session. And I want to wish all participants a wonderful day, and we'll speak again. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.